Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shotters, woo gals, G-boys, and charges. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
This episode's Rep Yours is dedicated to Cafe Mobe, a Caribbean dine-in, takeout, and catering restaurant serving always fresh Jamaican cuisine as if flown in straight from the islands. You don't know. Cafe Mobe is located at 1039 Broad Street in Bloomfield, New Jersey, and is available for pickup or delivery via Grubhub, Seamless, and all them thing there. Follow Cafe Mobe on Instagram and Facebook at cafe_Mobe and let them know the JJC Pod sent you. Bop, bop. Lest your ears do not deceive thee, it's your humble extrovert and favorite jerk G reporting in on today's episode, where the fellas and I lend our 2 cents and change on some of the latest happenings in news, society, culture, and entertainment. But if you want to know exactly what we'll be getting into, then be sure to read the goddamn description. Otherwise, tune in and get ready for your daily dose of vitamin C, for culture, of course, and maybe an extra special dose of vitamin D right after we pay these tributes. And if you ain't a follower, perhaps tuning in for the first time, be sure to check us out on Instagram at Jerk Jollof Collard Pod. You could also reach us on Facebook. Additional ways to contact us provided in the outro at the end of this episode. And yes, this has been a scantily attended season, but we are at the second to last episode of the season releasing this week, episode number 59. And on the horn, I have with me none other than Mr. Angry himself, Sir Chunks, and the franchise.
Mildly. Things are changing. Starting to let that anger go. And I wake up and choose violence still, but tactful violence, at least. Or at best.
Whenever necessary, like the great Alex said, by any means.
It's always necessary. Violence is physical touch is a love language, which is sometimes understood as violence.
Chunky, it's okay. It's a lifestyle. We get it.
It is. It's hard to be like this. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus.
And you gotta be like the truth is, you gotta just be big as hell, bald-headed, and just be tall.
And black.
It's and black. Yeah. Well,
I mean that helps.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
It promotes a stereotype. So
wait, are we saying we never use stereotypes to our advantage? I know I definitely have used the big angry black man. What? The angry black man. Yeah, because I'm not very big, so I have to be the angry black guy. In corporate, oh my goodness, forget about it. You can just give them a twitch, you'd start twitching like. They already think like, oh, Glenn, relax. I didn't mean it, Glenn. Stop.
Glenn, I'm sorry for that. That did not come across the way it was intended.
Exactly. And it's coming across the way that we take it.
That part. Be careful which stereotypes you assign yourself to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and chop. Time is of the essence. And I know we have a bunch of parents on the pod, me kind of being the odd one out. So the first thing I wanted to talk about recently, lately that's been buzzing all over. And, this happened at one amusement park and it seems to be trickling its way over to others as well. I'm not sure if you guys heard about what happened at Disney World, where the Rapunzel cosplay character apparently was avoiding a pair of black children as well. But let's talk about Sesame Street. Yeah, I took Sesame Street and I changed it to Sus because, as you all know, we've all seen the footage and we've all heard about that $25 million lawsuit that's out there now. What's your take? As parents, as individuals, what's your take on how Sesame Street initially handled or addressed the racism allegations, regarding the young black children that were seemingly ignored by the mascot over at Sesame? What's your take?
Man, I just feel like they should just took it in the chin and just like apologize. But the sense I'm getting from them, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like they're just making excuses. Like, instead of just like, yo, we messed up, we're gonna fire the employee, but instead they said we're gonna train more. They talked about like there's a obstruction of view potentially, the character did not see the kids because of the costume. It's like, yo, like they are your target audience. You're like, what? I was like, what? Are you serious right now?
Yeah,
You telling me
that's
the kids that actually you are like those are your targeted audience are not your primary focus? Like, are you kidding me? So to me, man, I don't know. It just sounds like a bunch of excuses. Like they should just like take it in the chin, acknowledge their mess up. But one thing I was really thinking about though, but I'll let Chunky go and I'll let you ask some of your piece. But what about if the the character or the what's the term of those characters, the actual,
mascots.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
actual like anyways, what about if that person is black? What if the actual person is black? I was like, does this change the narrative of this whole thing? Are we making an assumption like the person is white and they are purposely ignoring black kids? What about if the person wearing under the costume is black? Like, does this change the whole conversation or what? I don't know. That's
That's
just
a
a
great
random
point.
thing that just kind of went through my mind.
And especially considering that Rosita is green, it's just like, hey, is this really racism? I guess we couldn't consider it white supremacy racism, right? But we don't know what the color of the person underneath that a getup is. You're right. It's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, what do you think, Chunky?
I mean, just take the totality of circumstances, right? It's very rare for a African American person or a black person to ignore their own people. So when you look at it as a whole, it's just like me as an adult, if I see any, black children, I'm amped to talk to them as well as any other children. I won't ignore my own people. I won't cause a stir. I mean, it's an interesting point to be brought up, but I mean, how often would that have happened, right? So if it's not a racial issue, it's just a professionalism issue, right? So at the end of the day, it's about professionalism. You're hired to do a job and to do the job right. Your whole point of your job is to interact with everybody. So as soon as you don't interact with someone and it's filmed and it's consistent, then yeah, that person should be, my opinion, fired. There's no amount of retraining for that level of unprofessionalism. So I just think that no matter what the color is of the mascot, kids shouldn't be treated that way. If you have something against any type of kid, there's something wrong with you. You don't need to be in that space, right?
Facts.
So
I mean,
that's
but
just,
like, but let's be real though. We got a bunch of customer service people out here who be angry, me mugging people when they come through the checkout line. I'm like, yo, this is your job. You should be nice to everyone. But they
but
just,
I
but
mean, I think
some people
customer
just
service
suck at
is
the job.
different. Customer service is different from like you being at a job where your whole job is to interact with people.
Especially children.
Right. So
Well, yeah,
that's your job. Like that's why you're hired. Interact with
right.
kids, interact with family. Like look at customer service. Customer service has gotten worse with COVID. People just stopped caring in this great resignation where people just like, oh, I can do what I want, quit, go to another job. I mean, I'll be honest, go fuck yourself. Because it's just like you're making things harder for people when you think you're better than what you are, right? From human being to human being, treat each other with respect. Like that's flatline. So if I'm coming to you and it's your job to serve me, my responsibility coming to you is to be polite and to work through the situation. As soon as you give me an attitude, everything's out the door. I'm going to point out how horrible you are at your job. I'm going to point out how incompetent you are to get you to the point to either get me to a manager or to piss you off to a greater extent. Do your job, get it done, and go home. I know I wake up and I choose violence, but when I'm trying to get shit done, just go through the steps. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, like the real. Oh, sorry, Glenn.
No, go ahead.
One thing I wanted to say, I'm not sure if this, if the parents talked about this, but I wonder if Disney offered to compensate them in some additional way, like bring them on, or like on a 7-day pass.
Disney or Sesame Street?
Sesame Street, sorry. And just saying bring them on, and they actually compensate them, like at least for their previous visit. And actually do an additional visit for them to like come in like, hey, we messed up. This is a free flight because I'm not sure where they live, if they flew in there, right? So, provide all transportation and just make sure that you actually give them like a VIP experience. And that's some way of, taking ownership and accountability for, what we messed up, but I at least from the information I've been reading, I don't think they've offered that, but I know they did reference that they will review the, you know, the lawsuit and just kind of go from there. So, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
Would you
which
accept that?
appears to be what, the $25 million lawsuit?
No, would you accept them offering you like, hey, we'll do an all-inclusive for you to come back?
Would you even want to go back? That's like getting invited back to the plantation. Like, hey, we turned
I
the
think
plantation
that's a stretch.
to the Airbnb.
I mean,
and
why
you
not?
get the master bedroom.
I mean,
How many times, like, that's what I'm saying, though. How many times do we go? I mean, come on, man. We go to a store, like, I mean, there was like a bunch of, even like talking about clothing brand like Gucci, H&M. They all messed up in the past, right? And they apologize, and people still shop there. I know even NFL, people were supposed to ban watching NFL. People still watch it. Like,
Do you think that's a problem with us in society where we don't have enough self-control and understanding of what's actually right and what's wrong? We're just selfish and we're just like, you know what? This happened 20 minutes ago. I'm going to do what I want to do.
No, I think it's individually based. It's like you kind of, whatever you can tolerate should be your compass, you know. So it is not a one fit all type answer. But what I'm just saying, if I was offered that, I would, at least for me, I would feel like, you know what, I got a sense that they are taking for accountability. At least even like try to even slow down the media coverage pressure on that. Like, just so, like, you know what, let's just give something to show how, like, some integrity here. And I feel like they didn't really show a lot of that.
And I feel like there is no slowing it down. Now that we have social media, in a sense, it's just like whatever's not covered in the, our national or, public media will be covered via social. And it wasn't until that first instance occurred where I realized there's tons of footage online of kids there's even one where this young Black child was being bumped by one of the mascots, like beyond. There's like a line that separates the mascots and the audience. This mascot took the effort to go beyond the line and bump the small child back into the crowd till she nearly fell over.
Yeah, I saw that. That was fucked up.
Yeah, and it's like this child must have been no more than probably 2 to 3 years of age. So she's probably trying to gauge like, hey, what the heck is going on right now? Meanwhile, not thinking that you could have actually physically hurt this child. And it was just clip after clip. So there seems to be, opinion, a tradition of certain practices, and it's hard to really say who's behind or who's under the mask, right? At any given time, that could be anyone. So let's take a look at the $25 million lawsuit, though. I know we dropped this online as well. Do you guys feel that was a good ask, too much, or too little?
I think it's too much. At the end of the day, what is the goal here? Is the goal to fix what's wrong or to get a quick cash grab, knowing that this entity has more than enough money? So if this was to happen to them by a normal person, would they still be suing for the same amount? So there are ends to fit the means, and I don't think this is an end to fit the means of being compensated for what's wrong. I agree with Francis, like, hey, they can get invited back, get their money back, issued an apology, or if the kids suffered some type of psychological damage, then counseling should be offered to them for free. So my thing is that not everything you should just grab money off of. I mean, this is a capitalist society, but it's just like, are you really fixing it for the next child that goes to that situation? Or are you really being selfish for your family?
Yeah. Initially, it's funny because initially I thought it was a cash grab, and that was my initial thought. But when I started seeing all this other video that started circulating the internet, I realized, there has to be some compensation tied to this, because, the best way to really sometimes to get change behavior is through people's pocket. You have to hurt them. You have to hurt them in the where it hurts, man, and it is through that finance.
I think that works for people, but not
corporations.
It works for entities too.
Yeah,
I mean, so at the end of the day, it's just like, all right, I'm going to sue you for 25 million. Here's 25 million. Get out of my face, right?
It's to hurt their bottom line, because I know it's not to them. Yes, it's like maybe a couple $1,000s to them compared to, or even $10, $5, whatever you want to compare it to. I get it. It's maybe not a significant amount for a big corporation like that, but it's still, I think it's still well deserved for the parents. Actually, what I think that should happen is all of the parents that have cases against them should just do a big lawsuit against them and just divide it up.
I would say
I guess,
open their own theme park essentially as well with some of those funds, honestly. But yeah, get to the last point. We'll move on to the next topic.
Do you think so? The question to you is that you think the only way to affect change in a company is through their pockets? There's no other way to do it?
Well, I'm not saying that's the sole, I'm not saying that's the primary route. However, I think that's an effective method though. It's being used. I mean, even if you let's look at NBA for an example. You know, players when they get a technical, fouls are fined. If you do something wrong in the league, that you are fined. And even though it's not a lot of money to those people, every time you even talk to your players talk about it, they always reference like, oh my God, I don't want to get, I'm going to get fined.
I mean, the example
I got to be self-cautious about it. So
Chad Johnson had his own pot of money. No matter whether or not he got fined, he still did it.
Yeah,
Chad Johnson's different though. This man probably didn't spend a dime while he was in the NFL.
I mean, but like whether the financial situation is staying on top of what Francis is saying, it's just
but
that
it makes you think though.
It makes you think. He has a point though. He has a point because you think about it, you can't really us not knowing what this company thinks, even looking at how they even approach the matter. One thing is universal is money. And that's a fact. Let's be real. Not saying that's the only way, but if you want to make the most impact soon as possible, it's usually, to Francis's point, going to be a financial impact. Like, you have to lose something that means something to them. We don't really know what their stance is on Black lives or how they're treating these kids. And my thing is that if they really did care, I agree, they would have fired the mascot and just said, hey, you know what? We found out the source of the issue. We don't tolerate this. We cut ties.
I mean, I think didn't fire.
No, they didn't, because
they did not.
Because one of the message I saw was I think they said the person felt really bad about this, and then that was not her intention or something like that. I think that was
I mean, but like, even though that's not her intention, it's just like, that doesn't mean that the person is not fired or.
Well, maybe later on they fired her, but that was not at least the messaging that came across.
They would have made that a point.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean,
the PR team would have made sure they did that.
I mean, do you necessarily have to, like, hey, this person has been fired on the spot, X, Y, and Z? Like, hey, we understand what went on.
Because that is part, because people want that.
Just because
that's critical.
Right. So, like, a company's going to do what companies do, right? So looking at it, it's just like, hey, we're going to investigate it, we're going to take a look, and then we're going to have an end result. Just because it's not said up front doesn't mean it's not happening. Just because it's not said doesn't mean the information's logged. This person tries to get a job somewhere else at another amusement park, that's going to track and follow them. So for me, my thing is just that, yeah, it's great to fire someone, but it's even better to have the paperwork that files behind them. So now this person's known that they're an offender. So if they go and try to work as a mascot at another amusement park, they can't get the job because, one, that's the only reference that they got. Two, there's a paper trail against them.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool and all, but doesn't guarantee that you're not going to get a job.
Hey, you know what?
There's a bunch of police officers who are killing people.
That's true.
Who are getting new jobs.
I mean, you know what? Let's move on to the next one. We're talking about money. Let's keep on the theme with money. Great points, though. All right. So as we already know, the second largest mega jackpot at 1.28 billion was won by a single ticket holder in the state of Illinois. First largest being 1.5 back in 2018, also won by a single ticket holder in South Carolina. Did you guys play the mega? And if you did, why didn't you let me know in your pool? That's my first question. Did you play the mega? And if you were the winner by chance, what were some of the first steps you think you would have taken with that prize money?
Man, actually, I wish I played. I did not play it. Actually, I've never played the lottery before.
You're not a lotto guy?
Yeah, I'm not. The only time I think I've done it was I was at a job like many years ago, and I think they were getting like a big pool of people together, and they asked people to like chip in some money, and we were just gonna divide it up if somebody went. And I think I chipped in maybe $5 or $10, but that was the only time I've ever played it. So no, I did not play it. I don't even know what the true process is to play it. And I think you just go to the gas station. And I'm not sure.
Any retailer that sells lotto tickets, you could be like 7-Eleven, Wawa, Yo Bodega.
Yeah, no. I mean, I didn't play, but I wasn't really itching. I wasn't freaking out, but because I already knew like, what's my chance? Like, it's not really likely
One
for me,
in
but
3 billion.
very
Ah, so
low
you
to
say.
say the least. But yeah, but man, if I won something like that, bro, it's crazy to even think about. Just imagine waking up one day and you became a billionaire. Like, what? I know, like, a lot of that money is going to go to taxes, you know.
Yeah.
So for me, like, the first thing I'm going to do is actually, if I win something like that, is hire a lawyer and hire a accountant, because those are the two things I got to make sure my legal piece is squared up. It's like right on up real tight, and I got to make sure all the taxes stuff is real tight too. So, you know, then everything else, you know, if it's starting a business, you know, paying off, you know, my mama's crib,
Mhm.
obviously that's everybody's dream, right?
Yeah.
You know, just and any buy some Bitcoin. You
So
know.
would you go public about it? Would you say, yo, I'm rich, bitch? Or would you just keep it on the low?
No, actually, you know, you got to keep that kind of stuff on the low, man. I think, yeah, you could, because more money, more problem. Biggest say the
Facts.
best, man. If you can keep that kind of stuff under wraps, man, that is the best approach, man. Obviously, the closest people to you, like some of your family members, will know. But I don't want to be a famous rich person. I would like to be a low key wealthy person, like just balling.
And you know, the crazy thing is some states require that you pretty much publicly announce or declare that you were the winner. So they'll do this like entire ceremony. They say, hey, Francis won, y'all. Come out.
I'm
If we owe
fucked.
you- And that sucks because it's like, I think most people don't realize if you live in one of those states where you have to publicly declare that you're the winner and do this whole big fake check, whatever, and all that other stuff, you could be put out there. But, you know, just to add my 2 cents to it, I agree. Lawyer up, accountant up. And actually, one of the most interesting things I saw was some people even indicated getting a therapist, because what can happen is basically you're getting all these requests from friends and family, and you're in this position of kind of, you know, you have all this power in a sense because you have all this money and they have to manage all these expectations. And it's because it's such a drastic life change. And it really sucks how much of our lives kind of revolve around money. That being the end all to, hey, how's my day going? You know what? $1,000 would make me a little bit happier. And to me, that sucks, but it's the reality. So yeah, it was actually interesting to see that a therapist is one of the things that they often recommend. But I agree. If I could get away with it being anonymous, lawyer up, accountant up, and even when you're giving gifts of a certain dollar amount, you could get taxed on that as well. So it's like, even if you're trying to, you know, gift off some of your money to your friends and family, you got to be really careful of that as well. You could be paying some crazy taxes on that. And, you know, I think honestly, my first step is paying off everybody's debt. Like, yo, parents, sister, siblings, whatever, paying off all y'all debt. I'll probably start that way of kind of easing the gifts, you know, making some bonds, businesses, going all anonymous at that point, probably relocate to Bali and have my money working over here in the United States. And Glenn is gone. Glenn is out.
So Glenn, it sounds like you're taking the money all at once. Is that what you're doing?
I am doing a lump sum, no annuities. I am not going to sit here and wait for my money to come. Somebody might put a hit on me. Might have to say, I got real ops out here. That's the trending thing right now. These kids are saying, I got ops, right? So yeah, if that's the case, I'm taking the lump sum. I think the actual cash out was maybe about 700 million, around that amount. So
yeah, it's like 750 or 700.
Yeah, a multi-millionaire.
That's
I'll take it.
A lot, bro. What
That's
you
a lot of.
mean?
I mean,
Make it sound like it was not. Oh my God, it's not a million. It's not $1 billion, but it's still.
I mean, who? I
750.
mean, it's just like this is
Come on.
750. I mean, I don't know. I would, of course, try to stay anonymous if I can. It is what it is. Pay off everybody's debt. I don't know about getting an accountant. I would more than likely, you know, start investing back into our community, whether that be scholarships or whether that be other opportunities for anybody. Doesn't matter if you're of color or not. Anyone who's less fortunate, be granted opportunities to do greater things, right? So you look at funding in a sense of like, what are the best schools? What is the result of the best schools? Like, hey, some kid got into Harvard that is from a low poverty family. You know, here's a full ride. You've earned it, right? And the rest of the money, like, I wouldn't even open a business to do anything else. Whatever is the best way to have continual generational wealth to the point where whoever down the line is going to be billionaires, and those are safe and protected assets where people are getting paid out over a certain amount of time. That's what I would set up, because people can waste money easily, right? $750 million sounds like a lot, but I'm pretty damn sure you can blow that before you die, depending on what you're doing and how you're doing it, if you're not fiscally responsible. So
I mean, Chunky, I don't know if I agree with that, bro, because that's a lot of money to try to manage by yourself. I mean, you need to be truth, you need a financial advisor, you need an accountant, you need a lawyer.
I don't think you could put that in Wells Fargo anymore.
Like, there's going to be a way there'll be.
Yeah, there's like this levels to this. You got bro.
No,
they got a different line for those kind of people. You got like different phone numbers. That's how it.
So don't take it as like, oh, well, I know how to. I'll manage it by myself. But it's just like off the rip, get an accountant. It's like me personally. No, I'll sit down and look at it. I'll look at what the best way of doing it is, right? Whether it's an accountant, whether it's just a straight up financial advisor, or whether it's something else that we as normal people don't have access to. So it's just like, what else is out there once you open up this world of being a multi-millionaire, right? So I'm not going to think around the average lines. I'm going to see what's available before I make a decision.
That's actually not average, because most average people don't have accountants and financial advisors.
Facts.
I mean, people who make enough, like to me, like when you're in a certain tax bracket, that's the first.
Yeah, but right? how many percent of people is? I mean,
so
it's only like 15% of people that make like over 100K a year.
So what I'm looking at is that I'm talking about walking into that 1% of society, right? I don't know what the 1% of society does to keep them as the 1%. So is there anything else out there that's available that I don't know knowledge of yet? Right. So I'm going to take my time and figure that out. If there isn't, then I'll roll into things to me that are average and normal.
Okay. So our listeners, please don't be like Chunky. Yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah. If you're that winner.
Yeah. The point of you not trying to figure, obviously you don't know what is out there because you don't have visibility to it. You're not in that class. You have to get yourself an accountant who deal with those kind of people. They will introduce you to the things that those people with that kind of money do. They will introduce you to that world, because then they can tell you like, this is this kind of person doing this is what other options that you never even knew is available to you are available to you. That's when like the financial advisor and the accountants will come into play. Like, but Chunky, do you, baby? It's okay.
Yeah, you got to get with the
Rothschilds. Always done me. I will do
Obviously.
my 30-day figure this the fuck out.
With your thousands books, million books, right?
Right, exactly.
You never let that man let that down.
No.
You got to get with the Levines and the Rothschilds.
No, he's gonna read the book and figure it out. No, it's all good.
Yeah, you're gonna start that black 1% of America.
Exactly. So if I could walk into something and figure it out, I'd rather figure it out first. Like that's just my mindset. I'd rather. It's like, what's going to happen to me if I sit there? How am I wasting time?
Your time
it's 30 days. It's 30 days of me holding $750 million, right? And the day before, it was less money I was holding for 30 days. So what's really killing me right now? Right? All my mindset's killing me because like I have a higher. No, let's go down that road. I like it. I have a higher risk tolerance and I make decisions a little bit quicker than someone who makes 2 decisions at once.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it. You're just special. I forgot.
I'll be looking for
special. I'm short busted helmet special.
I'll be looking for the one episode they were talking about the mobile fight club. I'll be looking
for like 2 episodes
Chunky to start that. Yeah, you guys put the seed money into your mobile fight box.
Exactly. See, there you go, Francis. 2 hours already made $1 billion. The mobile octagon. Financial advisor didn't tell me to do that. No to the accountant.
You're gonna be sitting with Dana White and all of them. I got
That's it.
I see the vision.
Appreciate it. Thanks. I'm glad someone sees it. It seems like Francis has an issue with my 1,000-pound brain and my millions of books.
You know what? I love it. Wonderful. Somebody gotta do it.
So talking about brains, books, money, and cost, let's get into this recession. Well, talks of a recession that we may be entering. And let's just talk about first inflation, period. We've been sitting in inflation for quite a bit now this year. And I'm just curious, like with the cost of goods going to what they are, people having to pick between, groceries and eating out or groceries and paying the bills, I've heard in some cases. Really that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle for a lot of people now, even those earning 100K or 6 figures and more. Are there any steps you guys have taken to become like recession proof, or are there any things that you've had to cut within like the past couple of months, or really look at how you're spending now that we're all these talks of recession and inflation? Is there anything you guys have done differently?
And to be honest, no. I guess one thing that, like to talk about recession, like, I mean, from officially, we are in a recession. I mean, it's funny that if you're not in the market, I think if you're not investing or, kind of really in that business world, you may not really be self-aware of what's going on in the market because, aside from gas being high, there's a lot. I mean, there's just a lot of positive things going on around us that you may not even, may not feel like we are in a recession, but the market is really low. Crypto is down.
Crypto,
Like
major.
we are like 50% down on all really any Amazon, any big tech company you can think of is struggling right now, and they are laying a lot of people off, they're cutting, resources, all the time. But one thing that I would say that I'm going to keep doing, because we're not really, there's a lot of, debates. Even the White House is trying to change what a definition of a recession is, so like, they're saying, we just can't look at the GDP numbers because the way they initially kind of look at recession is if you have 2 quarters of two negative of like the economy falling, and the last reading was 0.9%. So we had back to back, negative reading of negative growth to our economy. So usually economists look at that as a recession. So, but the White House is trying to tell us, we have a lot of jobs out there. There's a lot of positive things going on around us. So we cannot be in a recession.
Right.
But they are indicating that things are slowing down. And for a lot of people who are trying to sell their houses right now, I'm sure you probably feel it because homes are not selling as quick as they were during the summer,
or at all.
Oh yeah. So, now before it was, if you post a house, it was gone in 40 to 48 hours. Now, you might still be sitting on it for a month. So
I mean, but that's normal, right? So
Nah,
yeah.
not really.
Well, like
I mean,
not
so
in this market.
Not in this
before
Yeah.
like you're talking about, 2015, 2016, 2017, was everyone selling their house within 48 hours?
No, that's I get it. Yeah, that was what, but like the market has been hot. Everything, the housing market has been inflated for the last
Right.
couple,
So it
last couple
wasn't
years.
sustainable. So it's just like
Obviously. So are you saying, well, before I make my statement, so like what I'm doing personally is, to actually I'm gonna just keep cost dollar averaging into all my investment. As far as, I've been lucky, we actually just had a major layoff on my job, but thank God I was not I was not impacted. So
Amen.
Cheers to that. Thank God for that. So for me, I don't have to actually change my lifestyle yet, but one thing I am doing more is, keeping more cash in hand because really, everything is just, really bad. Crypto, stocks, things are just like not very good out there. So for me, I'm gonna hold more cash, but I'm still gonna like still put some money in those stocks and crypto because when people are fearful to invest is when you should be investing because that's really when people make the most money because things are so low. When things get back to normal, you actually can get a lot of positive gains in your investment portfolio. So so that would be my 2 piece for anyone listening. Just if things are not, if your job is still intact and you're not financially impacted, I would say just try and save some money, cut back if possible, for sure, maybe travel less. I know I'm definitely going to do that, and just some basic stuff. But yeah.
So I got a question though, because essentially, like you touched on it a bit here, and that's a really good breakdown as far as what a recession is. And that's essentially like the combination of like the high interest rates, which we're seeing now, and the high cost of goods, as we're seeing with like gasoline at $5 a gallon, which is like almost like a national average, groceries, things like that. We're looking at wages not being increased. So essentially people aren't taking home more or anything. It's not adjusting to match what's happening, in real life. So basically you may be earning this, but it's a lot less than what you need to actually exist or survive in where you reside. And essentially the last part, which you touched on, you're doing personally, it's not spending. So because people are more fearful or trying to be more conservative, our economy requires us to spend in order for it to grow. So in a recession, essentially people are not spending as much, probably because they can't afford it or they're fearful of a recession. So it's kind of like our not spending is essentially leading towards a recession, but can kind of lean toward that direction. But at the same time, I can understand, and I agree, my thing is pay off credit card debt. Essentially, if you have any, get rid of that mug ASAP if you can, and try to hold more cash, like you said, or be a little bit more conservative as far as how you're investing. And essentially it's the part that we got to spend money to get out of the recession, but at the same time, can people actually afford to do that at this point?
Yeah, that's the biggest issue.
I mean, I would look at it in a sense like, let's get advice, but let's look at the lowest common denominator, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Let's look at the average person, the hours that they work, the money that they bring in. They may not be able to pay off their credit card debt. They may not make enough to pay most of anything. I think it was either you or Francis that opened up in the sense that people are making a choice between either food or gas, right? So it's hard to tell someone in that position, save your money, don't vacation. I highly doubt that they're not trying to be frugal with their dollars. I highly doubt they're going out to the club buying bottles. So the thing is,
you sounding real GOP right now. You sounding real GOP right now. We can't make that assumption, but I
no.
Hear what you have to say.
So what I'm saying is that I think you just hooked on to like buying bottles. What I'm saying is that whatever your vice is, whatever you're spending your disposable income on, if you have disposable income on, or disposable income, you can't anymore, right? Your disposable income may be $1. Your disposable income may be 50 cents after you pay all your bills, right? So there are people that are just rubbing 2 pennies together and hoping to make $1. There's not anything to them. They may have been laid off. They may not be able to get a job because they're overqualified, or there are no jobs in the area that's available. They're still trying to pay a car note. They're still trying to pay rent or pay mortgage. They're doing all the right things. So it's applying to them like, hey, what is the best thing you can do when you're behind the 8 ball, right? And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because the economy is just pretty bad right now. So like I wouldn't tell those people to invest. I wouldn't tell those people that doesn't have disposable income to do a lot of different things. It's just like they're barely keeping their head above water, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like what's the best financial advice you can give someone that's going through a hard time? They get hurt, they have to go to the hospital. That's the tough part. We can give financial advice all day long. We can see a financial advisor, but if we don't have the funds to do that, how do people survive? And that's the tough and challenging part, because those people end up on the street. And then we look down on them like, oh, you didn't manage your money right. It's a recession. You didn't invest. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. It's just like, shit, man. I think they were just trying to get a burger off the dollar menu and they couldn't even do that. So that's reality of it, right? Reality of it is that there are a lot of people suffering, a lot of people going through a hard time. So how do we fix that? How do we give them a break, right? Is it we go back to giving them stimulus checks, which they'll spend on the right things? I don't think people got their stimulus checks and bought rims or bought something that they didn't need. I choose to believe that they were very frugal with their dollars.
Instagram would say otherwise.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jordans are going off the shelf, bro. Stop it.
I mean, but you just hit me by saying like buying liquor, right? So you about to hit
Chunky. I do appreciate what you said though. I do appreciate what you said though, because like I think it's really critical that we shouldn't like overlook like the people who are struggling at investing. Like I was talking to people who are actually already investing now, and the way they should keep managing their portfolio moving forward in the recession. But that is an excellent point. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think people who are struggling now will always, I think every day is a struggle. Like, sure, it doesn't matter how much money you make. Every day is a grind. We all are grinding for every dollar we make, right? So like just the also is just different for whatever situation you're in. And at the end of the day, regardless what the economy is, whatever situation we're in, the grind never stops. We just keep like pushing forward every day. And and yes, maybe the government will come in eventually and do a stimulus check to help out people. Because I know, California is doing a stimulus check to help with the inflation rate, and there's other states out there who are implementing stuff like that. So
Yeah.
even the Fed, even I know George, what the ex government president name, Biden, and he just I thought there was a like a relief for gas, right? From
Yeah,
a
there was, but
tax
it wasn't.
for the on a federal level, right? I
It
know it
wasn't
wasn't
enough.
significant. It wasn't
Yeah, yeah.
significant, but it was still some effort being made to help people, to help pay for gas, because gas is high as shit. So what can we do?
Yeah, and
Ask
it's a
for
great.
more money for electric vehicles.
Well, and then we could talk about the Inflation Reduction Act, right? That's being passed right now. If you guys aren't already
Yep.
aware of it,
Yeah.
there is some legislature coming through. I know Uncle Joe himself has already signed off on it, and right now, whether or not it get inducted is the question. But no, that's a great point Chunky really raised there. And as far as like the advice being given here, that's just like from our personal points of view, but taking it to our listeners as well. And it's the reason why we do these podcasts, is to really touch on other people's experiences and lives. And no, that's a great point. Some people don't have the money to save even before 2022. These are issues that, and that's a reason why we probably had that great resignation as well. It's because people are realizing like, yo, I'm not getting paid what I need to really survive, or I'm not really enjoying these conditions. So it's just like, if I want to get better, I have to leave this job and find something else, right? Because essentially when we talk about wages, we all know who that falls on to ensure that your employees are getting a decent wage to really survive where they are. So in turn, are we asking employers to, hey, increase how much they are giving their employees so that they can, make ends meet, save that money, and hopefully live a better life? Or does all the weight really fall on the government to do that?
I think that's honestly it's your easier pushes the government, right? So inflation hasn't been keeping up. I mean, not inflation. Minimum wage hasn't been keeping up with inflation, and this is well known. So we vote our congressional members in. So what's more important to you? When you make it, you kind of forget what's behind you. But when people have a sustainable way of living, they actually do better. So if you want minimum wage to be whatever the cost needs to be in order to not live in poverty, then you have to push that, right? I have no problem paying more in taxes in order to increase minimum wage. I want better service. I want people to be able to function. I want people with kids, like now that like all of us are parents, it's just like, just think about you being a parent and you can't put food in your child's mouth, right? So when you want some type of assistance, you're working 2 or 3 jobs. You're trying to do the best, but those 2 or 3 jobs is still not keeping you out of poverty. Why do you have to work so hard instead of getting paid what you should be paid, not to have to live in poverty, not to have to say like, hey, do I pay rent or do I feed my kids? So it's a very challenging thing to do. Is like I said, I'm willing to pay a little bit more in my taxes to take care of that, but not everybody sees it like that, right? Not everybody is willing to give back to the public, because it's just like, oh, I'm paying for a school. My child's not in that public school system yet. So why am I paying for that? Oh, like, to be honest, I'm paying for emergency services, and those emergency services aren't treating me right. So why am I giving money to that? But granted, it's someone that is an honest working person that's in that public service job, right? That person is a police officer, that person is a firefighter, and they're not making enough to make ends meet. So it's just like the people that we expect to give us a service, we're not even giving them a service back by paying them more. So it's an interesting concept. I want to be treated right, but I'm not hiring the best people because they're not getting the best money. So I get what I get. So how do I really effectively change that? Do I just complain, or do I say, hey, I have to take a hit to my pocket to increase my sustainability for living? That's me personally. Like I said, I don't mind paying more in taxes because I know where it goes. Or could we go to the point where you can pick where your tax money goes to, right?
I mean,
I can select like, hey, I
itemize
Right.
listing of things where that'd be cool.
20 grand in your taxes, you get to pick where you send it, right?
Yeah, that'd be fire.
So I think that's a better way to like manage it. I highly doubt like public service would get money at the end of the day, depending on where you're at. But giving people the freedom of choice, I think, makes them feel better. It's not like, hey, like my vote doesn't count or my money's being wasted, you know?
I mean,
Yeah,
so one
great
thing
point.
I would say though, right now talking about jobs, like one thing I've heard and the way, and just kind of looking in the market, I think this is a good time to explore a new job because I think compensation is higher for new employees. It's unfortunate that sometimes you have to leave your current job to get a higher wage, but that is also something for people like that we were talking about. That is a resource or avenue that you can explore as well. Like if I go to another company doing the same thing, or even because there's so much job out there and there's not enough workers or people are at least applying for those jobs. Let me apply for a job that maybe I'm one level, underqualified for. Let's see if this company will hire me for it and I can maybe potentially double my income that way, or at least get a 30% pay increase, and I'm sure that will like really help out, so yeah,
Not
that's
no one's
some
hustle.
definitely something that I was definitely recommend for anyone, and that's something that I'm like an advice that I'm thinking that I'm looking at, I'm exploring my for myself. I'm just not saying it to just our audience. This apply at our level. I think
Fox.
so. Uh, so yeah.
Trust me, my resume is with recruiters on the rotation. Okay, I've heard of places offering me to interview and they'll pay me just for that. Just to get through the interview, I will get paid. So it's just like, it's real. There's opportunities out here. And obviously with the higher wages, it gets a lot more competitive, but this is definitely a time to invest in yourself. If you can, just try to learn as much as you can. There's a lot of free resources online, even as an example. I think it's very important for Americans to get the jobs that pay, and educate themselves as best as they can to get these opportunities as well, because they are out there. And this situation really calls us to look inward at ourselves and essentially who we're voting for also.
Yeah, there's one resource that actually I want to drop in quick. For anybody interested in like any technical skills, or even any kind of software learning or whatnot. Obviously you have LinkedIn, but Udemy, Udemy. I don't know if you guys have heard about Udemy, but they have everything on there. Like you could buy
Facts.
courses and you could get certifications on there. So if you guys haven't heard of Udemy before, look at it. Actually, might be something you can like take a like maybe set a month off aside, or even a week, learn a new skill, add it to your resume. As in the market. So
That okay. Look at the gems, y'all. Look at the gems. All right, so let's turn the tide a little bit before we get to our close. Probably touch on about two more things here. But one thing I definitely wanted to bring up, because I feel like it has a little bit of a personal tone to it. It's a little something that'll allow us to dig deep in ourselves and answer. Let's talk about Will Smith's response, overall, his public apology that he made to Chris Rock. If you weren't aware, last Friday, former Fresh Prince Will Smith issued an emotional apology to the comedian Chris Rock via YouTube and IG. Now, I'm not sure if you've all seen it. Me personally, I haven't watched the whole 5-minute bit, but I did hear bits and parts of it where he's like, this wasn't about Jada. I'm deeply sorry and I regret what I did. Me personally, I can't stand seeing a grown man cry for too long. So I didn't get through the entire video, but I did dig to search and see what Chris Rock said in response to it. And I think as far as we know right now, he hasn't said anything official yet, but he has been on tour lately, I think like in down south, like in Georgia, Atlanta. And he made mention that, we are a victim obsessed society. But before I get to that and throw that question to you guys, he also made a point that to suggest that he's not a victim as a result of the slap, and that he basically continued life as normal. He said after the slap, he basically went to work the next day and continued life as normal. He didn't allow it to, I guess, weigh him down. What's your guys' take on that? Do you agree with Chris Rock? Do we live in a victim obsessed society? Or, and also I want to add to that as well, the second part, are there some offenses that are too grievous to forgive? Is there a point where you say, hey, you know what? Thank you for apologizing, but I'm not accepting it. So whichever one you want to answer first is up to you, but what's your take?
Chunky, you could go first.
Cool. I mean, I watched the whole thing. I kind of weird you say you can't watch a grown man cry for too long, but so the way I look at it, it takes a lot of maturity to sit down and answer questions when things are pointed at you, right? So the man was under so much fire. He was like, "Hey, let me sit down. Let me just address this." Right? That takes a lot of gall. That takes a lot of like I said, maturity to sit there. It's like, yeah, I messed up, and this is the reason why I messed up. I watched the whole thing, and he's apologetic about it. And the thing is just that he owned his mistake. He puts it on himself. He says, "Hey, if you're gonna point the finger, you point the finger at me." He apologized to Chris Rock, his family, his father. It was Tony Rock or whatever.
No, it's his brother.
Okay.
Tony Rock and his mom.
He kept pushing, right? So put yourself in that position where you're being thrown down a lot, and you have to step up and say, "I have to own this mistake. I have to take time to reflect and say, this is the reason why I made my decision. This is the reason why I'm coming out to say something." And that's not easy. Just think about a normal apology, how hard it is for people just to say that they're sorry about something very simple, right? To me, it seemed like a sincere apology. And, I don't think we're a victim society. I think we're a society that wants to feel valued, right? So if we don't put stock and value in ourselves, we want it from other people. And it doesn't matter how we get it. Whether that value be from Instagram likes, whether that value be from saying that someone had hurt me and someone should pay attention, or whether that value be I'm going to lie about how good I am at what I do. So I think being that we're a capitalist society, we also look at the level of attention that we should receive. If the level of attention needs to exceed my expectation of myself in some people's eyes. Me, I don't care about attention. I don't care about being told something. If I fuck up, I have to own it. It's not easy to bite that, but you bite, swallow, repeat. Tell me one person in this world that's not fallible. There isn't. Everyone makes mistakes. Given the fact that I don't think there's a grievous enough mistake where you can't be forgiven. Your choice to forgive someone, no matter what it is, it's your choice. So whether you won $750 million and I stepped on your Air Forces and you just like, yo, I'm not dealing with this shit. I don't accept your apology. That's you. That's your personal decision. So no one can tell you what you should be able to take in by what someone did to you. Because, for me, if someone stepped on my sneakers, I don't care. But to you, it may be the most offensive thing ever.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, go ahead.
Now I was going to say, so when you think of, we let's talk about the grievances point there.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of, you can even take it to a personal level, or just looking at it outside of personal. Like, let's say, for instance, a pilot gets drunk, decides the next day, I'm going to fly this plane.
That's happening.
Let's say
there was a movie about that.
Crashes it. Only he survives.
Oh boy!
And he comes out next day and he says, "Hey guys, you know what? I fucked up. I shouldn't have got drunk. I'm sorry, everyone passed away." Are there some grievances that are just too difficult, or that can be too difficult to forgive?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't understand. I just said if you step on someone's Air Force, what?
Yeah, but to Chunky's point, though, I think it's relative, right? It is relative because there are, for example, if you look at courts sometimes, and you see the parents of someone, a murderer, and the parents say, "I forgive you," and give the person they hug them right before they the police take them away. It's really interesting how you see moms forgive the murder of their kid in court, right? So to Chunky's point, I think it's individual based, right? I think some people can have the appetite to forgive people. God forgive us regardless of all the sins that we've ever done to him. And I think people live with that same principle, some people more than others. So I don't, for me, I'm not that righteous. So I know I'm a Christian, but it's hard out here, man. It is hard out here. I mean, for me, for somebody to, if I lose a loved one, man, it's not, I don't think I could forgive the killer, bro. A part of me is gonna want revenge, to be honest. Let's be real. But yeah, so I mean, to answer that question, man, and to use that example, Glenn, like that's gonna be tough for me to forgive, to have a murderer like lose a loved one from somebody else's doing. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Respectable.
I mean, even in the good book, there are some unpardonable sins. Sins against the Holy Spirit cannot be forgiven. And essentially, it's a fellow Christian as well, even though I tend to cuss a little. I'm working on that. You know, there are some, I mean, I think for human beings, yeah, we should try, like being able, to Chunky's point, being able to look, you know, I could get to the bottom line of Chunky's message being, hey, the ability to do that, you know, is great. Like, you know, that's the closest thing to the godliness itself. Like to look the killer in the eyes, look the guy who smudged your Air Forces in the eyes and be like, you know what? I forgive you. You know, even though I got real ops, I forgive you. And
what
I don't know.
ops do you have?
I don't know. I've just been seeing so much of this. I figure I'd just drop it in. Maybe the algorithm will pick it up. And,
we're gonna get more listeners that have ops.
You gotta try.
And then in turn they'll become our ops, and then we'll have a whole bunch of listeners that are just ops.
We're a progressive Black podcast. We got to work the system.
So we're paying ops.
Actually, I'm trying to think back where the last time I heard that terminology. I feel like I just heard it like
yesterday or like 20 seconds ago.
It's been flooding.
Just said.
My IG.
I heard it from somewhere. Like I think it was either on social media or somebody's comedy. I don't know, man. But
there's this weird sense of hood.
You know
comedy.
what? I think Kevin Hart said it. I think I was watching. Have you guys seen the Kevin Hart?
That's your unit of measure when it comes down to
interview to Chris Rock. He actually interviewed Chris Rock.
So
a couple days ago.
Super curious. So what is your measure of new slang?
You got ops out here, bro.
So who has to say it for it to be relevant to you?
The kids, the
kids,
populace,
bro,
the majority.
I'm too old for that shit.
Social media, bro.
I have no idea what's going on. Neither do I care. I live in my world. That's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I know what that means. Let me just
might
look
have
it up
ops and you don't even know it, bro. You might have ops out here.
Opposition, people who dislike me. Shit that I've been saying for years. I got to give it a new term.
Yeah, you might have ops, bro.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Opposite people that don't like me.
I don't know. To get on the Oxfords and slap the black out of a man. I mean, yeah, it takes a lot. And I could think even personally, yeah, I could be a hard person to turn. It's like sometimes getting blood out of a stone with me sometimes. But definitely in my heart of hearts, I think being able to forgive is ideal for society in a sense. And to answer the victim obsessed part, I feel like a lot of us love a story, right? And a lot of the information we're getting today is intertwined with delivering a story. I feel like it's so much more of delivering a story than it is actually delivering the truth. Even to the way that articles are written now or how they're presented. It's like, you can't hear about a man being shot unless he's black and the cop is white. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of propaganda behind how a lot of things are being presented. And I feel like it's caught in this tunnel of getting views and shares and likes. And that has messed a lot of how we seek things and understand things now. A lot of how we apply our own emotions to things.
But I think
and how we report like things. Yeah, without a doubt.
I don't think it's
amplified.
Right.
Well,
I have nothing else to say.
One thing I do want to say though, I think Chris Rock, the reason why he said he was not a victim, I think he recognized that there's bigger things going on in life.
True.
More than like getting slapped. I know it's a big deal.
You just slapped me in front of millions of people. That's pretty big.
But he's also
sizable.
He's also a comedian too. I know, like he probably can find the humor in that in a way. I know it's embarrassing, but I think he recognizes there's so much thing going on around us where like he doesn't want to like, and the coverage for it was so crazy, which is appropriate, I guess, for a big superstar like that to get slapped on stage like that. So it was it's ideal, I guess, but I think the point of what Chris was trying to, at least this is my assumption, I think he was trying to pass along like, life goes on. I think there was a life lesson there that he was trying to teach us as a society, that sometimes don't let life obstacle slow us down. Life moves on. Let's keep pushing forward. Regardless of what happens to you today, life goes on. Even if you get stuck and can't move, the time move forward. So like don't get too caught up on what the negative that's going on around us, and let it just really stop us from moving forward in life. So I think for me, I took it as a learning. I think I took that comment as a learning opportunity for the rest of us. So yeah, I don't know.
This is grinning.
Cause I'm thinking he got real ops out here, bro.
I mean, do you disagree?
I don't disagree. You know my method, right? If someone came up on stage and slapped me, I'm slapping them right back. It's instinctual.
Yeah, but also we are a community of like retaliation and like get back and getting hot.
But like it's you're saying like I'm gonna think about, oh, should I slap this person back or should I walk away? No, my automatic response is that you slap me, I slap you right back. That's just it. And how we deal with that afterwards is how we deal with that afterwards.
You could imagine.
Oscars
would have ended right there. Like, oh shit, they slapping each other.
Like I'm the only, like, I understand where my position is when it comes down to violence. It's just like, to me, violence is a language. I'm not saying it's the best way. I don't have anything against Chris Rock. You ask me how I would deal with it, like I would slap the motherfucker back.
Chris showed us a lot, actually. I think Chris showed us a lot in the throughout this whole situation. Like, he shows self-control. He shows like so much.
I'm gonna show you self-control with the palm of my hand.
He shows maturity. Like,
Chris, like, you won't break my soul.
You won't
break my soul.
That's where I disagree, right?
You won't break my soul.
Oh boy.
That's why I disagree. Like, you can't sit here and say, oh, it's mature not to respond to something, right? We all have emotions. So you're telling me
one part though.
It's someone responded like, oh, I'm gonna get, like, someone just slapped me. Oh, like, you slapped them back. I'm more disappointed in you slapping this person back. Like, no, this shit happened. How do you deal with it afterwards? You pointed out a very valid point. Things in life happen to you. How do you respond? And how do you deal with it once it's done? The most important thing is how you deal with it once the action has been completed, whether it's a response in that moment or afterwards. How much maturity do you have saying like, hey, this person hit me. Yeah, I know I hit him back. I take responsibility for slapping the shit out of him back. But hey, either A, I forgive them, or B, I'm not forgiving this person. Going back to Glenn's point, what has to be the most egregious thing, or what's egregious to you to forgive somebody, right?
Well, if you slap me, I don't need no forgiveness at that point. You got your guy.
No, you prompted a response, right? It's like I said, like, in my head, it's just like, if I get hit, I'm gonna respond and hitting you back. It's just a reaction.
I get it, but even Will acknowledging this apology that he shouldn't have hit him.
Oh, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you came up and you slapped me. Whether you shouldn't have did it in the moment or not,
I know it happened.
The action happened.
Slap the Jesus. Like, he got to think, like, damn, that man still slapped the shit out of me, though.
Right? It's just like the most disrespectful thing you can do to another man is just slap him. Like, open hand smack somebody.
That's what I said. Like, Chris showed us growth and the way to properly handle things, man.
Oh, you slapped me in front of my family. I'm gonna be a grown ass man and just walk off.
It's the most diplomatic way of resolving the issue. Yeah.
Violence is diplomatic too.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking about levels now.
Fair and equitable violence.
You slap me, I slap you back. That's equal. That's equal violence.
That's fine. That's fair. Yeah.
All right.
Look, man.
Let's get into the last one.
Come over here and smack me, Francis, and I will hug the shit out of you. I'll show you straight diplomacy.
Like, air hug him in front of millions of people.
Just pass out when we're done hugging.
Yeah, Chunki, bring your face over here. Bring your face over here. Bring that.
I'm gonna hug the shit out of you right now.
I'll show you my level of maturity.
Oh yeah, you're the last one I'm fucking with. Nah, especially now on the pod. I'm straight.
For real. Yo, shout out to Chris though.
Okay.
Go
okay.
Ahead.
Tortilla challenge then.
Oh, that's actually funny. It's
tortilla. What's a tortilla challenge?
You haven't seen it?
Nah.
Oh, tell him, Chunki, tell him.
You pretty much just have to set each other with tortillas.
Oh, that thing. I thought it was like I seen that. I saw the dude slap his girl real hard with a
tortilla.
tortilla.
I know, right? I was like, yo, it's Is this
Uh.
kind of like, is this domestic violence a little
That's
bit?
how you
low-key?
get Opps, bro.
That's
how you get
You have
Opps.
consent. Yes, I mean, you have Opps with the tortilla company.
Yeah, that's how you get
So
Opps.
Oh my God.
that's who's coming for you. The tortilla company is going to ring your doorbell and feel some type of way that you slapping someone with their
Like,
food.
we do not condone the act of domestic violence. If we have
No.
a tortilla challenge, they gotta make a statement.
You know what?
Tortillas are for food only.
It's funny. It's like you and your girl like mad at each other, like into a fight. You're like, you know what?
Tortilla
Challenge.
Tortilla
What?
That's it.
That's
Bring that shit.
how it is.
Listen, bring that shit to court, Your Honor. My spouse slapped me with her tortilla.
Yeah,
I
they
would have
wouldn't-
pressed charges.
There's no precedent
What
for
did,
that.
what
They'd
did
be
you
like,
do?
"What?"
I slapped him back with a tortilla. Oh,
That'll have to go to SCOTUS right there. They had to make some declarations on that one.
Oh my God.
The tortilla clause.
I'm pretty sure it'll get overturned in 6 months.
Like tortilla versus Instagram or whatever. But shout out to Chris though. He didn't get his soul broken. And shout out to Beyonce on Renaissance album. That was awesome. I listened to it twice already. All right, let's touch on the last thing for today because I think it's important. We're going to talk monkey business, particularly monkeypox and the threat of actual live monkeys against human beings. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the footage or not, which one you want to tackle first, but apart from monkeypox, which I think is getting kind of like a bad rep, I think already New York and California have made 2 state of emergencies regarding it and basically trying to help, I guess, reduce the spread. But I got to say, the coverage of monkeypox by both CDC and the WHO has got me in tears right now. Like, I went on to CDC just to read, okay, how do you contract or how is it transmitted? And one of the things I noticed on there is they made a grave effort to use the words anus and butthole interchangeably. Like, who in their right mind does not know what an anus is? You know what I mean?
There's a lot of people. Like, I don't. Have you looked at this society today?
Wait, so butthole is a better reference?
That's to the lowest common denominator.
So put poop shoot, trapper.
Like, if you're trying to reach a wide audience,
fourth grader level, bro.
like, I don't know what an anus is. Like, I wasn't taught anus. I was taught a butthole. So.
Yeah,
Whatever,
I guess butthole is is that a 3rd grade reading level or was that so you can like,
Listen, man.
I hope
what
they
level
teach
is
the
that?
kids butthole in 3rd grade.
I mean, what level reading is that? I think to check his point. I think that's probably why they are doing it that way. Really, I mean, people understand it better.
That's it. I mean, if you're trying to hit the greater population, that's where you got to go.
Check your butthole.
Makes
But
sense.
I gotta say, it's kind of getting the rhetoric that it's only passed to people of a certain sexual orientation. That's not the case because, yeah, for real, like if you rent an Airbnb or whatever, you can get this by mere contact, like simply brushing shoulders, skin to skin contact with anyone. Doesn't necessarily have to be intimate, but sleeping on sheets with somebody that has monkeypox, sharing something with someone that has monkeypox. Very, very common ways that
So
you can
here's
contract this.
my question: if someone
Yeah.
has monkeypox, how long does it take to show symptoms?
I'm not sure. Let's check the CDC.
I mean, my point is, if someone's like lumpy and it's not to be like offensive, I'm not going to share something with them. Like you have a lot of bumps.
But these
So,
look
like,
these have a very distinct look to them. They look like big white pus bubbles. I
Okay,
guess you can say.
so my question is, you look at chickenpox, right? I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure people are saying the same shit when chickenpox came out.
That was gross. I've had
Like,
chickenpox before.
I think every kid's got it.
Mhm.
Well, most kids, you're supposed to get it when you're a kid, and it's just like, so it doesn't affect you as an adult later. So it's just like, just imagine the first time someone saw chickenpox. It's just like, oh, this guy was fucking a chicken. So it's just like,
what?
Oh,
What?
It's
Seriously?
just I phrase it like that. It's just like, if you like, people just, the reaction to it is just like, whoa, like, one is called chickenpox. Where did you get it from? What happened? I'm just going to make all these assumptions until it's clinically proven that this is what happens. With Glenn's point of like anus and butthole, is just like, yeah, it's spread through close contact, right? In the beginning, when I first heard it come out, it's just like, oh, it's through like homosexual intercourse. It's what I heard originally.
Yeah,
So
that's the rhetoric.
that brings it to the point of just like, when chickenpox first came out, it's just like, what were you doing with chickens to contract this?
So wait, she's trying to say somebody banged a monkey?
Yo, that's Chunky, man. You off base here, bro.
I mean,
Like,
I don't-
what But to answer the question, it's 1 to 4 days following a fever before you start to show eruptions.
So
in the skin.
I'm not gonna know if someone has monkeypox, neither would they know.
It's take a long
after
time.
the fact. Okay,
Well, that's a very short window. Honestly,
I mean, still, that's what 96 hours.
that's short.
I mean, think about all the stuff you can do within a 96-hour period.
That's a lot of monkey you can do.
Like if like it's Saturday, I'm on day 1. I go to a party Saturday night or go to a party Friday night, and then like I'm high-fiving people, you know, I'm having fun, doing cake stands and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's it.
Monkeying around.
I monkeyed around the entire weekend and I just spread it. So it's a really like hard situation to like manage and control if it's not like instant that the symptoms are shown. So
it's tough, man. I feel like we are constantly dealing with something new as a society. It's like we cannot get a break, and it's like if it's not this thing, it's another thing. It's not one thing, it's like that thing. So I said all of that to say that we just gotta we have to protect ourselves, because we really don't know what is out there, man. Because we are constantly putting ourselves in danger every day we leave our safe space.
So another point,
you know. So
think about back in the day where people were like, what is that? Oregon Trail? So just imagine living back then. Everything killed you.
Snakes.
Everything. You walk outside,
smoke,
you brush a flower, and then you're dead. 2 hours, you're dead. So I think we've always lived in a quote unquote dangerous world.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is now, as you said before, it's just that social media can capture things a lot quicker and it comes at you a lot harder now. So if something's happened, it's recorded in an instance and it's available that same instant, right? It's live streamed. We don't have to wait for the news to give it to us. And multiple shit happens at the same time.
Facts. You know what is actually funny is it reminds me of a conversation I had earlier today with a friend of the pod, Danielle. Shout out to Allegedly Credible. We were talking about herself and a friend, and I were talking about kind of like the etymology of things, like the origin of things. Like, what do you think? Who do you think the first person to discover that cow milk was, digestible was? Like, what was the effect of it? Like, somebody had to take that L, right? To find out that
How's it a loss? It's just like
those berries were poisonous. Like, oh, you don't want to eat those. Bob ate them and he's gone now. So
I mean, it's just curiosity of life, right?
Yeah, it's dangers of life and what preserves us are kind of like hand in hand.
I don't think someone's just like, hey, I'm gonna go over and eat those berries and take one for the team. I think someone was just hungry, ate them, and just died.
And be like, oh, we don't eat those anymore.
And to be fair, there was a segment, a group of people who were used as for clinical trials to kind of figure some things out too. But we don't want to go there.
Yeah, clinical trials is a nice way to say it. Group of people too.
Exactly.
Very nice way to say it there, friend.
Yeah. Studies, man.
So let's leave it at that.
But in all, stay safe out there, y'all. I know the WHO made a statement, which I thought was really funny, particularly for anyone engaged in male activity. Limit your interactions, and if possible, get that person's phone number and tell them that you follow up with them in a few days. So I thought that was like, like a little IOU type. I got you next time. Wait till monkeypox is over. I got you. Don't worry about it. So in all, just to say, regardless of your orientation or whatever you do, don't fall for the rhetoric. Just be careful, be safe out there. With all engagements, be mindful and protect yourself. We're a progressive pod. We're always going to preach, protect yourself, especially to our people. So other than that, any last comments for the world before we depart?
It's like, live your best life, because that equals monkeypox or death. That's on you.
And not even talking about the actual monkeys that are out here assaulting people, but
no monkeying around.
Great, Francis. That's your dad joke.
Shout out to Dre.
That.
You like that? Yeah.
Y'all used to clown me. Now you get it.
Yes. Stop keeping them exotic pets, y'all. Stop keeping those exotic pets. But for more content or to learn more about the pod, feel free to check us out at Jerk Jollof Collar Pod on Instagram. Podcast episodes drop every Wednesday, but we'll be in a slight hiatus after a week from now, right? The second to last episode. So definitely tune in for episode 60, where we jump into some heavy topics. But if you like what you're hearing, feel free to leave us a review on your preferred streaming platform of choice. As always, like, share, follow, and or subscribe. And if you got real ops, be sure
Oh my God.
to check us all out
Oh
again
my
next
God.
week.
People who dislike
ops.
what you do are in ops. Just give me a heads up.
Listen to this podcast.
Oh,
You got real
boy.
ops. All right. So make sure you tune in. Stay
Peace.
blessed. Peace.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
And that concludes today's episode, but that doesn't mean the conversation has to end. As a matter of fact, feel free to check us out at JJC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for our post-discussion question following the release of this episode. If you are a Black or minority business owner or professional that would like to be featured on the Rep Yours segment of our show, or a listener with some general feedback for the podcast panel, feel free to shoot us an email at jjcpod@gmail.com. As always, likes and comments are always appreciated. Be sure to subscribe or follow to be notified when the next episode releases. And until then, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.